Hey, Tonebase YouTube, Ben here, and I recently posted a video featuring 6 Tonebase artists giving their opinion on Glenn Gould. One of the lone dissenting voices was from Seymour Bernstein in an interview I did with him before the pandemic when he was only 92 years old. So many of you were demanding to hear more of Seymour's thoughts on Gould that I sent him the link to the video and said, Seymour, you're setting the comments on fire, please reply. Well, he did reply, and he basically said, Ben, call me. So we hopped on a Zoom call, and I played some Gould recordings for him and captured his reaction. Then I read some of your critical comments directed at Seymour and let him reply. I recorded the whole thing, and it was such good stuff that I have to divide it into 2 parts. In this video, Seymour reacts to Gould's Mozart and elaborates on his belief that it was, quote,
a travesty.
Then in a couple days, I'll post part 2 where I get Seymour to react to Gould playing a Brahms intermezzo. If you haven't seen the original Gould video, make sure to check it out. And if you want to see more Seymour, he's recorded many hours of lessons and interviews on the Tonebase Piano Premium platform. All right, let's jump in. My friend, Seymour, thank you for joining me on Zoom. You look wonderful. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling fine, thank you.
I just posted a video about Glenn Gould that you're featured in. Did you see it?
I saw it. I'm overwhelmed by you and the video.
So many commenters have said, why is this bearded dude talking so much? We want to hear more from Seymour about what he thinks of Gould.
We want to hear and see more. Get it?
Like sometimes your wit goes over my head, so.
What? Oh, get out of here. I'm always joking with people. They get annoyed with me because I joke with them so much.
So tell us more. How do you really feel about Gould's recordings of Mozart?
It's a travesty. First of all, there is definitely no question about it. There's something snide about him. I have a feeling that he has contemptuousness for the public. There are certain things that are written in stone, I have to say. Right? Hear that second E? I'm sorry, but that's written in stone. If anybody does this, I'm sorry. That is anti-musical, anti-Mozart, anti-logic.
I thought it might be useful to actually call up that video so we can.
Could you play it again now?
Yes, let me call it up.
I have just finished recording a sonata which every student plays, and for that reason, when I was a student, I didn't play it because I was a very stubborn student and I didn't like to play the things that my colleagues were playing. The first movement of that sonata is theme and variations. And the theme is sort of nice and pleasant. It's the sort of thing that Hosea Turby would be playing if he were still making movies, you know, to some enchanted lady draping her handkerchief over the balcony or something. And I think it's usually played relatively quickly, but in fact what I did with it was to turn it into the theme only, not the variation, to turn it into a sort of Anton Webern-like statement of apostrophes, something like this. You'll be shocked.
You are shocked. Just play it how Hollywood would play it.
Well, I think Hollywood would play it with strings, of course, dubbed in.
Now, what's wrong with that?
Well, nothing really, except that it takes all the juice out of it.
Now, did you hear that catastrophe? Listen what he did. That's what he did. But did you hear his remarks before that, speaking about contemptuousness and snideness? That's in his nature. Oh, I never studied that piece as a student because everybody plays it. Who wants to I don't want to just keep playing the same opus. You know what he sounds like to me? I heard a critic, one of the chief critics on the New York Times, give a demonstration at the Brooklyn Conservatory of Music where I gave some demonstrations. So I was sitting in the audience. Who wants to hear the Moonlight Sonata over and over and over again? Said he, in front of a ballroom filled with teachers and students who are studying. I raised my hand. You will side with me when you hear what I said to this critic in front of the audience. I said, do you realize what you just said? You are speaking about one of the greatest compositions that was ever given to humanity, the first movement of the Moonlight Sonata. I want to tell you that I'm in my 80s. I was in my 80s at the time. When I just imagine that opening C-sharp minor broken chord, I have to fight tears away. I'm so moved by it, even to this day. And you're telling me you're sick to death of it? Now, you wouldn't teach it to your students because you're tired of it. But when you were 12 years old and you were exposed to it, you would be overcome. And you're going to deprive that of your students because you're bored? This is what I said to the critic. So there's something in Glenn Gould that was in this critic. Snideness, boredom with what has been done. And I'm going to do something unique that has never been done before. So when I play the octaves in the Brahms D minor concerto with Leonard Bernstein, I'm going to play them like this. I'm not going to play. Do you remember that period?
Of course, I know that recording.
Yes, but do you know about Leonard Bernstein?
Yes, he came out and he issued a disclaimer before the performance.
He said, I disclaim the performance that you're about to hear.
I think Mr. Bernstein will have something to say to the audience, so down to the stage.
Don't be frightened, Mr. Gould is here. Will appear in a moment. A curious situation has arisen, which merits, I think, a word or two. You are about to hear a rather, shall we say, unorthodox performance of the Brahms D minor concerto, a performance distinctly different from any I've ever heard, or even dreamt of, for that matter, in its remarkably broad tempi and its frequent departures from Brahms' dynamic indications. I cannot say I am in total agreement with Mr. Gould's conception.
If they wouldn't allow him to say that, he actually said, I'm not going to conduct if you don't allow me to say that.
And he affirmed how much he respected Gould as an artist and as having the right to offer a new perspective on a piece that is often played with very similar interpretation.
I'm conducting it because Mr. Gould is so valid and serious an artist that I must take seriously anything he conceives in good faith. And his conception is interesting enough so that I feel you should hear it too.
I don't believe that Gould even meant that. I think he did that because of what I just said. He wanted to pull the wool over the public's eye again.
You had many opponents in the comments section, so may I read a couple and you can respond to them?
I would love to, yes.
Okay, this is from Stephen Joseph, guitar. The idea that all performers should always aim to be as true to the original music as possible, or act simply as a vessel through which the composer's intentions are channeled, has always been the antithesis of artistry and imaginative thinking to me. Why would I want to listen to more than one interpretation of a piece if everyone is trying to play it the same way? This is perhaps why there are so many incredible but frankly unmemorable and uninspiring musicians these days, because of opinions like those of Seymour Bernstein. Because the last thing the world needs is another carbon copy regurgitation of the same music played the same way.
Hey, Stephen, every performance I've heard of Mozart is different. I never heard anyone trying to have a stereotyped one thought concept of Mozart. It's not possible. I want to draw an analogy about this by letting you know that many years ago, Bela Bartok gave a master class at the Juilliard School of Music. And one student asked Bela Bartok, "Sir, how do you achieve originality in composing?" And Bela Bartok said, "Oh, that's very easy. You just have to be yourself."
Okay, I have another commenter here that's relevant. Piano at 30 says, Gould was unapologetically himself. Music aside, the reminder to simply be yourself was his greatest gift to all of us.
I know, and how his music is himself, and I don't like that self.
Okay, so it's back to just a matter of taste then. You don't like Gould, I like Gould, so what's the big fuss about?
I don't love everybody I meet. Do you?
No, but I think it's more than a matter of taste. I think that you're actually taken aback. You feel like this is an affront to something that you hold sacred.
I do, because I feel there is something a priori, some real kernel of truth within that music. We all have a right to like or dislike someone or music or anything. However, there are certain things that are fixed in the universe. Now, how are we going to deal with the fact of anybody saying Mozart was a bad composer? The Statue of David by Michelangelo, that's fixed in the universe. I don't like that Statue of David. I don't think Mona Lisa is a masterpiece. Shakespeare is a bad writer. There's something disturbing in the universe when you can say something like that to people who have created such things. What do you think about that?
What I worry about is that when we put certain artworks and artists, composers up on a pedestal, and then we erect institutions around that, as is what happened in the 19th and 20th century.
Oh yeah, but that's the opposite direction.
It drives people away because it says, here's the truth, whether you like it or not. And that's not a way of bringing people in to a world of art and beauty and humanity.
But you now give me your opinion about saying that Mozart is a bad composer.
Okay, here's how I interpret that. First of all, Gould, I believe, admitted that he was being tongue-in-cheek, half serious. It's worth pointing out that since he was a boy, his mother raised him with a kind of ambivalence or love-hate relationship with Mozart. She was so careful not to give her son the prodigy treatment.
So this is psychologically induced by his mother.
But there's a more important thing going on here. Gould saw Mozart and the other canonic composers and Bach as all more or less canonized to an extreme that, as he said, all there's left to do, now that the greatest performances of these works have already been made. He loved Arthur Schnabel and his Beethoven. He said, after Schnabel, we already have these recordings for posterity. If we play Beethoven or we play Mozart, we have to reimagine it. We have to recompose it if we're going to preserve our own artistic integrity.
I heard him say that, yes.
What do you think?
I can't help bypass something else. This is what I can't bypass. What he wrote also in that article. I'm going to quote it. Are you ready? The real tragedy about Mozart's early death is that he didn't die sooner.
Well, here's how I interpret that comment. Again, he's being deliberately irreverent, not to Mozart, the man who lived 150 years before he did, but to those who hold up Mozart to say, this person is a god, this person is somebody we should worship. And Gould is saying, actually, he was a human, and I am a human, and I shall collaborate with Mozart on a new work of art, K331 Sonata, Mozart Gould. And I want to see if people might react to that in positive or negative ways. And guess what? Some think it's fascinating and moving and sublime, and others like you think it's a travesty. So I think he succeeded in his goal.
I heard Gould play once in Carnegie Hall. And it was brilliant playing, but terribly eccentric. So Clifford Curzon told me the following story. One day, a friend of his called him up, and the friend happened to be a very close friend of Glenn Gould. And the friend told Clifford Curzon the following story. Glenn called me this morning and he said, I wowed them in Carnegie Hall the other night. I crossed my left leg over the right on the pedal. So Curzon said, you see, he does these things on purpose to attract attention.
May I?
Wants to be different. Comment about that.
Well, I think there's more to Gould's motivations than you're letting on to.
I didn't say that there wasn't anything positive about him.
Can you say, I want to hear your positives. Can I hear the positives?
Yes, I love his passion. He brings a passion to everything he plays. I love his momentum. I think he's hyper intense. And actually, I admire that in some cases. But I want to repeat what I said at the earlier video. I hungrily listened to everything that I could, even Brahms recordings. Why? I wanted to search, please, Glenn, show me that you can play a beautiful phrase for me. And I never heard him play a single beautiful phrase.
Die Kapten mit Drogen, seid all hier erzogen. Hat man euch, listen, you messed up the words.